Harvest Gawd.
Go on, my brother.
Bob.
The man
Kervin,
himself.
what to call you, boy?
Well, all of the above, just don't call me collect. I answer to, I answer to anything, you know. Once it's a good, positive.
Of course.
Definitely.
I feel like this one is a long time coming.
Too long. Way too long.
It's a while now. We've been talking. And it's about 2 years now this should have happened. But today is the day.
Again, nothing happens before the right time.
One of the reasons I wanted to do this, and I wanted to start to make videos like this, we always having them lengthy discussions about the way tourism could be developed here in Tobago and here in Trinidad and Tobago and even the wider Caribbean. And of course, a big part of tourism is the people.
Yeah, that's one of the main things. True.
Before hotel, before airport, before cruise ship, is the people on the ground.
Yep.
If you don't have that, you don't have tourism.
No, you don't. Most important aspect of it.
And we always saying, boy, the government need to do this and this one need to do that and that one need to do that. So I found it appropriate for we to create our own platform where we, the people on the ground, who in tourism and who doing the work, could voice our opinion and share some insight into how we feel this thing could go.
Being on the ground, I mean, plenty of people likewise myself from the ground would know that they have a more direct contact with the tourists.
Right.
They have a more direct contact with some of the things that they actually seen working.
Yeah.
For this type of tourism that we have in the Tobago space.
Yeah.
In the Trinidad and Tobago space. Yeah. And not just to us alone, but I believe across the entire Caribbean. The people on the ground are the ones that actually executing tourism. That are actually doing what it takes. These kind of people would have an excellent idea or overview of some of the things that would work, may work, or have been working.
Yeah. I like how you use the word executing. Because a lot of times, we see these things online, we see these things on TV, we hear people talking from our platform, and sometimes we don't feel like things being executed, especially the way it should be done, believe it should be done, because we're on the ground, we're feeling it.
Yeah, we see it.
To the people.
We live in it every day.
Yeah. So I want to go back and permit me if you will. Now I told Bob we was going to talk, and he would let me know if to include or what to include, what not to include, right? Now we're going to get a little personal.
No, feel free.
You tell me if to include it, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's appropriate because a lot of times we sit down home and we talk about what politicians do and they don't do. And few of us take the initiative to get up and actually do the work ourselves. Because at the end of the day, Tobago is yours.
Yes.
Trinidad is mine.
All of us.
We are part of Trinidad and Tobago. This is our country. It's up to us to put in the work to develop and to promote our country. And to contribute to the tourism. Prior to you becoming Harvest Gawd, most people in Tobago on the ground would know Bob Short Man as the man in the kiss truck.
Yeah, of course.
Delivering bread, show the length and breadth of the island.
Top to bottom, end to end.
And I thought it appropriate to bring that up because oftentimes the average person don't see how their own daily grind or their own daily tasks could be directly or indirectly affecting not just the people on the ground, but even the foreigners.
True.
So by you going out there and doing your thing, working on the grind, you get to meet and interact with people. People get to know you.
I think that one of the advantages that I have based on what I do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
I'm always there.
Yeah.
I'm always on the ground. I'm always interacting with the people, both locally and internationally.
Yeah. And I find it incredible how you went from just doing that, your own daily grind, focusing on your work, and you was able to turn those relationships on the ground into going to Harvest, into connecting with Foodie Nation.
Where it all started.
Your first video, into making your own videos. Fast forward to today, being a tourism ambassador.
Being a household name across the island.
To me, one of the most impactful names in the Tobago space.
Most definitely.
In the tourism industry. I thought it important to make that point because it just goes to show that anybody from any walk of life
could do it.
Could do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
could get up and do it.
Social media was never really my thing, you know. But I love the theatrics on the phone, I recording everything.
Yeah.
But social media was never really my thing.
Nah, it was.
So for fun, I go in all them harvest on them.
Yeah.
And I recording and I posted on my WhatsApp. When I started this, when you all convinced me to start to do this in the social media space, and I repeating, all you convinced me because yo, this was never my thing.
Yeah.
You know, I and all, it wasn't my wildest thought or dream that
It would go this far.
it would have gone this far.
Yeah.
If you pay me to believe that, you still couldn't get me to believe that.
I think one thing we fail to mention is that you were doing this before the cameras. You were
Yeah.
in the harvest. You were
And
Harvest
didn't
Gawd
even
before the cameras.
and didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
If before social media,
So you were playing a very pivotal part in the
vital-
tourism space.
of course,
Even before publicity.
even before publicity,
No, the world didn't know who you were. But
The
you were
world-
still on the ground, grinding, doing it.
the world didn't even know what a harvest was.
Yeah.
I remember I telling a woman in Trinidad, a doctor I went by a time about harvest, and she's laughing. I said, why you laugh? No, you expect me to believe that? I went on my page and I showed her one of the videos.
Yeah.
She watched the video and she laughed again. So you know you really trying to tell me. And that was a video from by one of my boy Thunder in Canaan. His harvest, part of his yard, he had like 5, the biggest bottle that was like 4 or 5 liters, them swing on them. He had like 5 of those swings. And I showed she the way. When she done, I thought I actually convinced her. Eh?
Yeah.
When she done watch it, she said, wait now, you know, you really expect me to believe all of that things for free? No, you for real? No, you. I said, no, I'm not trying to tell you that. That's what I'm telling you. In Trinidad and Tobago, we are cultured that everything the government had to do, the government had to give you this, the government had to do that, these politicians had to do this. I mean, I agree, the politicians have their
Do
role
their
and
part,
function
yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
They have their part to play, but besides that, like, yo, the everyday man could get up and do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much to really promote something or someplace. You know?
Exactly.
Luckily, we're in 2025. Social media runs the world.
Yeah.
I remember I'm sitting in Tobago here, Lambo, and I'm looking at social media and I can't wait to get some time to go Miaro by Bodo and eat some oysters.
Yeah.
I don't even know where Miaro is. But again, courtesy Foodie Nation, you all,
Yeah.
I would have seen what Miaro is doing, what Bodo is doing in Miaro.
Yeah.
And because of that, you know, I contact you all, I say, yo,
Yeah.
hey, I had to go Miaro. I had to
Yeah.
experience it. You know, and likewise here in the Tobago space, there are so many people that is doing so much.
Yeah.
And all it means for the world to know about it, we have the luxury of social media.
Yeah.
Any and everybody could play a vital and instrumental role where tourism is concerned.
Yeah.
No matter what part of the world you are.
Yeah. As you talk about impacting tourism, right, and everybody's role in the industry. A couple weeks or a couple months ago, we've been chatting about your own impact. And I know for you talking about it, it might sound like you're tooting your own horn, but I will make you toot your own horn here today, right? And what we talk about, and I want people to understand, coming out of COVID, right? The role that Harvest Gawd and has played on not just the harvest space, but how harvest now has impacted the entire community here in Tobago. Tourism, hotel, rental car, taxi, the meat shop.
The meat shops, the DJs, the bus up shot providers,
Yeah.
the fishermen, the crabmen, I could go on and on and on and on and on. The hairdressers. Because again, for harvest, when you keep in harvest, everybody had to make sure that everything on point
Yeah.
for their harvest. So
So this is not just a little lime, this is a full-out celebration.
I'm actually in the process of doing a series, the economical benefits of harvest. This is something that the average individual don't look at.
Yeah.
Remember, I was telling you about the idea, and you were blown away because even you and all didn't look so
Yeah.
deep into it.
I never realized how far-reaching it is.
Yeah, because people look at it as harvest is just going to harvest and eat food and drink. Like, I can list out more than 100 different people, businesses that directly benefits from harvest.
Yeah.
You know, even the DJs. I mean, the difference in culture in Trinidad, in terms of being a DJ, you have so many avenues like boat ride, all different clubs, plenty, all different parties. The Tobago culture a little different. We do really have them boat ride. No and then. We do all them clubs.
Yeah.
For a DJ, there are some DJs that I reach in almost every harvest, and they're like blown away by how I have transformed the harvest. That harvest is the thing.
Yeah.
So every weekend, sometimes they are booked 2-3 different places on harvest day.
Yeah.
I mean, because harvest is not a competition or anything like that.
Yeah.
But you know, we as Trinbagonians are naturally cultured to be competitive.
Yeah. That's for the next one.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So everybody always looking for that bragging right. Whose harvest is better than whose?
Yeah.
You know, there are some communities, I'm calling no name, that's they have the belief that they are the biggest and the best.
Yeah.
All I could say in the comments, I won't.
Yeah.
And because of that, you know, different villages tend to go all out. You know, they want to have the full works.
Yeah.
You know, even the doubles vendors. There are people at doubles vendors serving in the harvest.
Serious.
Like really. You know, so people are full-scale DJ, big setup owned by them. They are doubles vendors. They are mixologists. There are people who are mixologists on spot. I remember I went to Belgarden last year. Other communities, people are mixologists mixing cocktails.
Wow.
And for those of you that looking that do not know, harvest is free.
That is
It's
that is
free.
the part. That is, I still remember to this first day when we link up with Bob in Tobago. That was Delaford. Delaford Harvest. We go talk about Bob another time in another video.
In another video.
Yeah.
In another
We will
video.
save
In
that
another
one.
video.
I will link that one below.
No
Right?
problem. Link it in the comments.
But that harvest, I can remember it like it was yesterday. We went in and it was like going house to house. You're walking anybody yard, anybody
Like if that's your family, you're going
your
by.
family. You go
And they
ahead.
greet you like, look how long I ain't see you. That's
Yeah.
why you don't know them, they don't know you from a place.
And food sharing, drink sharing. You sit down in the gallery, you eat. You're like, hey, what's going on, bro? Next house. And you're just going on and on.
And when you're leaving, some of them asking you, you want to get one to go with?
Yeah.
You see, and for you, let me put you, tell me though, what the experience was like. I mean, based on how you are cultured, for the average person, it is unheard of
Completely.
to just walk in a total stranger home
Completely unheard of.
and be treated as if
Yes, royalty?
like it's royalty.
Yeah.
Tell me what your first experience of it was like.
I couldn't believe it. I still can't believe it. Every time I meet somebody and I talk to them about Tobago and the things that they have to do in Tobago, because I did a video called 19 Things to Do in Tobago.
Yes.
And I did include some elements of like heritage and some of the non-traditional elements that Trinis and foreigners might know, going Sorby and Pigeon Point and stuff like that. And a lot of people talk to me and they ask me about other things that they could do. And when I tell them about harvest, they can't believe.
No.
When I tell them you could walk in somebody's house and eat and drink and you're walking on the road and a pig roasting right there.
Yeah.
And it's traffic thing to park, but it's a love.
It's a love.
Police directing traffic thing. It's no fight. It's none of that.
To drive it home even more, in the harvest, like the top doctors, lawyers, politicians, no matter who it is,
Yeah.
it does come off the high horses and come down on the ground and cook and celebrate with everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what harvest is about. That is the place where you get the most genuine organic Tobago love. I mean, Tobago is really a loving place.
Yeah.
You know, but in the harvest especially, where you really feel that true organic Tobago love.
Yeah.
All for free.
Crazy. And this circles back to the first point we were making about every individual having their part to play in tourism. Because the same people who keep in the harvest, the same men on them who cooking, the ladies who cooking the food, the mixologist, the DJ, the man who doing the transport, all these people playing a part in tourism.
A vital part.
Yeah.
And they themselves may not even realize that.
They may not.
No, they may not.
Yeah.
They may not.
Yeah, and as a result of that too, as we talking economic impact, subsequent to the development of Harvest, I would have seen videos that you would have done where you spoke about the meat shops offering specials. People like
Yes.
Alamandos, I will call their name,
Yep.
offering drink specials
They are
and packages
yeah,
specifically for Harvest.
specifically geared towards the harvest.
So businesses that the average person may not think benefit from tourism, because when we think tourism, we think hotel, we think tour guide,
Yes.
we think taxi driver, but we don't think meat shop. We
No.
don't think farmer.
No.
We don't think liquor mart.
No, we don't.
We don't think hairdresser, barber. We don't think those things.
I like how you mentioned Almandos. Like, for instance, Harvest, you know, there's a lot of alcohol and what's so be it. I remember me and him having a chat, and he's showing me, he have a calendar
Yeah,
written down on a exercise book.
yeah,
And because once you're selling alcohol,
Yeah.
Harvest in Tobago is your biggest event to supply for.
wow.
If you would normally buy, let's just say you would buy 100, 200 case alcohol
Yeah.
to sell from Monday to Thursday.
Yeah,
When there's a harvest,
Yeah.
from Thursday to Saturday, you might need 300 cases.
wow.
Your biggest event to be preparing for is when there's a harvest.
Wow.
Especially some of the bigger harvests. Like, it's your biggest customer, harvest customers. So, with that being said, he have a calendar where he does work with, so he would know when all the harvests is
Ah,
and when the bigger ones are,
right.
to know how to prepare more.
Wow.
You know, I mean, harvest is that big
Yeah,
in the Tobago space. You know,
Wow.
even and likewise the butchers and them, like the farmers,
yeah,
they know that. I talking to a guy the other day, and he does rear he pigs
yeah,
a certain way in terms of a certain time of the year. He had to increase in a bigger way
yeah,
because especially like May, June is where some of the biggest harvests is.
yeah,
So he don't know. You see, for that period, he had to make sure on hundreds
yeah,
to be able to supply the market.
yeah,
And again, that is local tourism.
Yeah.
That is to show how the harvest impacts
yeah,
in the Tobago space.
yeah,
After COVID, some of the DJs, as I mentioned before, some of the taxi men, some of the meat shops, Almando's biggest alcohol provider on the island, would have reached out to me and said, hey, to a certain extent, tourism was dead in the Tobago space. And which is understandable
yeah,
globally after
COVID.
COVID.
yeah,
And these people that are, so many of them that are directly affected by harvest, since I start doing what I'm doing in the Tobago space, it have taken a drastic turn upwards.
wow.
I mean, even during COVID, harvest didn't stop, but you were limited because you cannot have big gatherings and so, but people were still keeping harvest.
Yeah.
People were keeping drive-by harvest. They cooking up all their food and they don't no, you don't drive past and collect it.
Wow.
You know, and after COVID done and I start doing what I'm doing, I mean, again, the luxury of social media. So it was reaching out there.
Yeah.
So the world was seeing it. I honestly believe that people felt even more motivated and more driven to start a comeback in the harvest and keep bigger and bigger and bigger harvest. You know, I remember in Dallaford, I saw a guy, Silbot, the biggest coolers, the big one.
Yeah.
He had 4 of that. 4 of those full from top to bottom. In terms of food, he had 23 food totes. You know them totes are like 4 pans in it.
Yeah.
He had 23 of those. I said, no, this could never make sense. But the amount of people were there.
Wow.
There are people that comes to Tobago every Sunday or almost every Sunday for harvest.
For harvest.
Book a flight in the morning, and since I started doing it because
Yeah.
a lot of people didn't know about this.
Yeah.
I mean, so again, the power of social media, they are fully aware of it now. You know, they're fully informed. I have, well, as you would know, I had the harvest calendar on my page.
Yeah.
So people planning in advance.
Yeah.
There are people that done plan for Dallaford, Roxbury, all them big harvests and them
Yeah.
that done book the place they stayed last year. Again, guest houses hotels, they benefiting in a big way.
Yeah.
I remember Roxborough, Dalaford, Speyside Harvest last year. Every single hotel and guest house in all those communities were fully booked for the harvest weekend.
Wow.
And speaking to some of them, that you would also see that in the series, the economical benefits of harvest, they were saying that majority of those people, some of them even pay for this year harvest for the entire weekend again.
Wow.
So again, you see how it's benefiting
Yeah.
the economy directly
Yeah.
in Tobago. Or car rentals.
Yeah.
I mean, you would know.
Yeah.
Taxi men. Everything, some of them big harvest. You can really, if you didn't already book your car from in advance, you can't call and get a car off the bat.
Wow. Wow. You know, and you funny you say that, you know, because I remember talking to the owner of our hotel last year, a small hotel, and she was saying that since the place opened up, after COVID, I asked if there's a high and a low season in Tobago with regards to tourism, and she said, no, not really, things have changed. And things are much more consistent.
Yes.
Consistent bookings
Yes.
throughout the year. And she didn't elaborate as to why and how. Now, my first thought was maybe it could be Tobago Carnival, maybe it could be heritage, maybe it could be just people changing in their spending and people priorities change, you know. But now as you say this, and I'm now putting two and two together, and I'm understanding what she's saying is aligned with what you're saying.
Definitely.
100%.
Definitely. You see, the thing is, I've always said this, and I'm saying it again unapologetically. One of the best way to sell this destination as a tourism destination is through harvest.
Yeah.
When you look globally, I mean, with so much going on in the world, so much crime, I mean, all over.
Yeah.
Imagine you leaving your country to go, you're thinking about what country to go to. You have a list of 10 countries you narrow down that I want to go to one of these. And when you look in their bio, you realize that almost every Sunday in a different community across the island, they have an event, Harvest, where you can actually walk into anybody's home as a total stranger and be treated as royalty for free.
Yeah.
You realize that across the entire island, every Sunday that is happening, automatically it shows you that how the people in that country is cultured.
Yeah.
And that speaks a lot. Automatically, you tend to feel a lot more safe. You tend to feel a lot more at home. You tend to get a more warm, organic, friendly feeling of the country and the people there.
Yeah.
So without a doubt, that would motivate almost anybody to choose that country. I have people literally from all over the world. I mean, I had a flight came in directly from Germany the other day. 12 people. They wanted some Harvest Gawd merch. You know, and they was like, hey, we want our greeting to Tobago must be our Harvest Gawd merch on the airport. And jokingly, they said, anytime you bring that on the airport, we're not leaving. Because we want that greeting. From Germany, I'm saying it.
Yeah.
Again, the power of social media.
Yeah.
You know, I have people from England. I mean, my harvest is 2 days next week.
Yeah.
And I have people from all over that have reached out to me to experience the harvest.
Wow.
Literally all different parts of the world.
Wow.
If you go back on my page and you view the last 2 years, 3 years of my harvest, you would see the people in my harvest is literally people from Spain, people from Ghana, people from Brazil, people from like all over the world.
Yeah.
Because I mean, whenever you reach out to me, I will let you know. It's almost every Sunday. There's a different village, you know. But in Tobago, my harvest is Easter Tuesday.
Yeah.
In Tobago, Easter weekend is one of the biggest weekends. So a lot of foreigners are here. So I would always tell them, but if you're in Tobago for Easter, I'm inviting you at my home to experience harvest.
Yeah.
And there are so many of them that would have capitalized on that just to really experience it. And according to what part of the world you come from, you feel a lot, although you are seeing it on the video, although you are hearing me telling you, you would feel a lot more comfortable actually coming at my home to experience it. Rather than I just telling you that, boy, you can just go in anybody's house and they treat you like royalty. And although you're hearing that and you see it in the video, Sometimes because of how you cultured.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do.
Yeah, it's true.
What do you mean?
It's true.
I just walk in it. No, I can't do that. I can't. I remember last year I would have carried the marketing rep for the THA here in Tobago.
Yeah.
I carried her and her family to experience the harvest. And even while we are in the harvest, she was like, no, this can't be real. No, this cannot be real. So you're saying even after we go, before we go, there's no bucket or no bag that you got to put a little funds in? I said, no, I'm not trying to tell you that. I'm telling you that. I'm not trying to tell you that. You know, and she was like, no, but why isn't this being marketed to the world so that the tourists could experience it? Why is it that I am marketing Tobago and I don't even know about this? It's only recently I've heard about it. But I am marketing Tobago and I don't even know about this.
Wow.
She's like, no, the world needs to know about this.
Yeah.
And I say, hey, I'm on a drive to do so. And time that back in to what you were saying earlier, everybody plays a role.
Yeah.
The government of the day, the government that is in power doesn't have to.
Yeah.
Because of me, a regular citizen,
Yeah.
there's so many people globally have learned about harvest and have actually experienced what harvest is.
Yeah.
So again, anybody can.
Yeah.
I'm not superior to anybody in no way.
Yeah.
The regular man on the ground could have done what I'm doing.
Wow.
They might not have the vibes and the personality is unmatched.
Yeah.
But I mean, everybody could do their thing in their own way and their own liking and still be effective.
Yeah.
Nah, definitely.
Yeah. No, you make a great point. And for people looking on, I don't want people to feel as though we trying to say that the government don't have their part to play.
No, we're not. Definitely
While the
not.
average man could contribute to the development of their own country, through
Definitely.
tourism, the government have their role, where there's infrastructure and putting certain things in place, certain services in place to ensure that the country runs as it should run, and that we have access to certain facilities and services to facilitate
True.
tourists coming in
Yes.
safely, getting to our harvest.
Yes.
You know?
But-
so we're not trying to say that the government have their responsibilities too.
Everybody had a
They
responsibility.
had the responsibilities. But I do believe that us, the average people on the ground, in their own little way, you might not even realize it.
You may not.
You may be the man selling fish on the side of the road and you don't realize how your interaction with somebody could make them want to revisit Tobago, to come and talk to you a little more.
I like how you say that. Just me being me, like when I'm working, simply when cause you know it's a big truck I just drive.
Yeah.
Simply when I'm driving, going somewhere, sometimes I see them tourists like jogging,
Yeah.
and just to let them feel welcomed and warm. Hey, morning, hope you have a good day.
Yeah.
And I drive past and gone. Or welcome to Tobago, hope you enjoy your stay. You know, in their entire experience, you know that might be part of their trip that stood out the most.
Yeah.
And these are things that the average man don't take into consideration.
Yeah.
There's sometimes that I would see a guy or a family, I might be a shop. I'll just give them some raisin buns or some bread and cheese. Hey, or I might give the kids.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah.
And according to what part of the world you are from, people pass you straight. You don't even know your neighbors. Because everybody's so down in what they are doing.
Yeah.
It's uncultured for them. It's unheard of for them to interact with total strangers. And to see a total stranger just extended that kind of greeting to us.
Yeah.
And didn't even ask us our name, nothing.
Nothing.
Or sometimes I may see tourists that they are there just parked and looking at the map. I would just stop. And where are you trying to get to? All right, you're going give them some direction and just drive off. You ain't trying to sell them anything. You ain't asking for. But that simple minute, 30 seconds interaction would leave a lasting memory on their mind.
Yeah.
Because that guy didn't even ask them for anything, you know.
Yeah.
He just stopped to help and go.
Wow.
This is how everybody could play a vital role in tourism.
Yeah. So yeah, this was a real good conversation. I think getting some insight into the impact of Harvest Gawd and the potential impact of the average man on the ground where tourism is concerned.
Yeah.
Potential of this device.
Yeah, as simple as it is.
The possibilities are endless.
Most definitely.
You know?
Most definitely.
We might see a harvest in New York again.
I'm
Hey,
not,
we
no,
forgot to mention that. We
no,
forgot to
I'm
mention
not
that.
gonna tell you. What you telling me? What you telling me? I haven't seen New York potentially, but I've done that.
Yeah, you see, and that,
Carriacou, Tobago harvest experience in Carriacou,
you
Guinea.
see,
I've done that.
global impact,
Global impact.
global impact. So we go
You
see
know-
one in London, we go see one in Miami,
Most definitely.
Canada.
But the sky's the limit.
The sky is the limit.
In Tobago terms, but me now start.
But yeah,
No,
yeah,
I mean there's so much
yeah,
ahead.
yeah,
Just to add that, I mean, I felt so good when I went to America, New York, and saw the Consulate General for
I
the
remember
Republic
that.
of Trinidad and Tobago
Yeah.
in New York. Award me in New York for what I'm doing here.
yeah,
If I tell you what the feeling was like, boy, unbelievable. In New York,
yeah.
for what I'm doing here in the
In
Tobago
Tobago.
space. Simply again, the phone.
Wow.
Again, when all you convinced me to really dive into this, if somebody even pinch me and tell me, boy, you know,
Yeah,
I wouldn't even think that was possible.
yeah. And you know, funny thing you say that, because we would have seen the value of it after the first video. And for us, we knew it was just a matter of other people seeing that value too.
Yes.
So that's why we encourage you to create videos, start a page, post. Because we saw the value in that Delaford video, you know. But we just need the world needed to see it.
And I really, and I never publicly say it, but I genuinely appreciate you, Sean, the Foodie Nation team, for what you have done. I'm more than sure if the world can, and folks, feel free to tell them in the comments, you know. On behalf of Harvest Gawd, Foodie Nation, thanks a million. You know, like really, thanks a million.
Yeah, man.
You know,
We just
because-
doing our part to, you know, put Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean on the map.
To continue to do so. No, word your statement properly.
Yeah,
Continue to do so.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Yeah, man.